But is it that thing, I've heard this before from people, you show up for the date and then it's 5 of their friends with them as well and you're expected to pick up the bill?
So I see that a lot at 86. First dates and Tinder dates are the best thing to watch and eavesdrop on.
They went to a Vietnamese wedding in the countryside and they woke up the next morning in a field next to the wedding.
If there are 5 back home, there are 7 here. If they're an 8 back home, they're like off the maps here.
I've heard this, so I'm like a 2 here. All right, I'm here at 86 Proof with Rochelle Nguyen, or Nguyen,
Nguyen,
if you want to call it that. We've just done our episode of a Vietnam podcast. When did I first message you? 2021?
February 2021.
It's taken a long time to get Rochelle on the podcast. We're going to have a famous whiskey sour here at 86 Proof, and we have an important question to ask you.
Yeah.
What is an unwritten rule for an expat? So we're going to sit down and talk about unwritten rules for expats.
Unwritten rule, this one's geared towards the guys who come here and start dating.
Nobody comes here and starts dating. No, I'm kidding on, of course.
I mean, Tinder here is what, like, the apps here are wonderful for guys. Not so much for girls, but it's wonderful for guys here.
So why is that though? So we've talked about this before. Why is dating better for guys than girls?
I think guys, when they come, if there are 5 back home, there are 7 here. If they're an 8 back home, they're like off the maps here.
I've heard this, so I'm like a 2 here. No, dude, this is the thing. There is this thing that like Western guys get more attention here and whatnot. I don't know what this says about me. I don't think I've ever been given any attention.
But is it just because you don't know when a girl's flirting with you? A lot of guys are like that, though.
I like to think that. I'll tell myself that I just don't. But honestly, like, because you hear about like guys get or girls hit on them.
Yeah.
I honestly don't think I've ever been hit on here.
I'm quite sure you haven't. You just haven't realized it. The amount of times that I've seen guys here where girls, they're nice. They're not like hookers or anything.
Yeah.
They come up, approach a guy. The guy has no idea they're being flirted to, and then they'll moan to the bartender and be like, "I'm so single, girls, don't talk to me." I'm like, there's a pretty girl right there, right there.
Let me tell you, the one time I thought I was being hit on, right? So Adrian and I were at Layla, another great cocktail bar, and there was an attractive girl over there. I think we maybe crossed eyes or whatnot, and then Adrian went to the bathroom. And as soon as she went to the bathroom, the girl jumped up and started walking over to me. And I was like, oh my God, what do I say? I don't know what to do. Anyone who doesn't know who Adrienne is, she's my wife. We've been together for like 13 years. We've been married forever. This never happens to me. And I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What do I say? Obviously, I'm not going to like be hitting on her, but you know, I'm not also going to be like, no, I'm married. Like, I'm like, what do I say? So she walks up to me. She's like, excuse me. And I was like, yeah. She's like, can I borrow your power bank?
You were all so nervous for nothing.
Yeah, I was absolutely gutted. I was like, shit, because my phone was charging on a power bank, but also my phone was charging on a power bank because I was using it, like I needed it. So I had to be like, no, like you can't use my power bank.
Yay, 6 hours in here.
Thank you so much.
Oh wait, I never answered the question.
Well, let's go back. Let's have a taste of the whiskey sour.
Okay.
So thank you so much for being on the Saigon Sunday sessions.
Don't you love doing podcasts with like bars? You just get to drink.
Well, I've talked about this before. I don't drink in pod. So it's really interesting. I did a podcast. Well, so this is the Saigon Sunday sessions are different because they're a bit more casual. And I will have a drink on the Saigon Sunday sessions, but on the normal podcast, I don't drink at all.
Yeah.
And we did an episode of the Saigon Sunday sessions recently at East West with Free Flow. And my wife, Adrienne, who's amazing, listens to all the episodes. She's like, I actually found it really interesting because you explained on the Saigon Sunday sessions why you don't drink in pod. And the reason you gave was, and it's true, is because so I have to actively listen while we're talking and think about what am I going to say next, what am I going to ask next, what are you saying, listening. It's great, like, you know, there's a few things going on. And I noticed the one time early on, I had like one beer. You lose your train of thought really easily. And I didn't think it was a good product. I'm not good as a host to be like drinking. I didn't want to do that kind of podcast. Whereas the Saigon Sunday sessions, you know, I can have a couple of drinks and we'll talk. And she said it was so funny because you explained why you don't drink in pod. And then later on, you literally lost your train of thought while you were talking because we'd been having a few beers. Yeah, and she's like, so it was really good example of why not to drink in pod. So I don't normally do it, but I will do it on the Saigon Sunday sessions. So remind me again, what makes the 86 proof whiskey sour, the best in the world.
Dude, but that's why I'm like, me and Jason, we don't know. It's like,
So I don't know, did you watch the episode with Jason? We call it the 86 proof test.
yeah.
So anytime Adrian and I have a whiskey sour, we
Yeah.
literally look at each other and we go,
Yeah.
is it better than 86
Yeah.
proof? And I think the answer is almost always no. I think we had one the other day and I can't remember where it was, and Adrian was like, I think this might be as good as
Yeah.
86 proof.
I think it also comes to when we're training the bartenders in the beginning to pick the certain type of ice. So if you shake it too much or you choose ice that's the wrong size for the shaker, then it gets over diluted and it gets a little bit bland.
So I love this. You just said to me what you told me in the other podcast. You don't know why your
But then like,
whiskey sour is so good, but you told me it took 34 iterations to get here, and you know the exact type of ice to use in the shaker. So you guys
but
do
the
know.
thing is, if you tell me, for example, if when we're training a new bartender,
Yeah.
right, there's not really like a 1 to 10 of how to do it. It's the feel of it. It's the
Interesting.
feel of when you shake the egg whites to the perfect texture.
Yeah, right.
You can't really describe it. It's just, you know it, the bartenders will kind of teach you that's when it is, and you just have to know by muscle movement and how it feels in your hands.
I used
That's
to
the
be a
only problem.
barista and I would make coffee, so
Yeah.
I understand what you mean because getting the milk foamed up.
Yeah, like the foam texture.
You couldn't say to somebody foam it for 20 seconds.
No.
You'd have to be like, you got to feel it. You understand
Yeah.
when it's burnt or when it's
Yeah,
not.
because
like,
everyone has a different shaking style too, which is fine.
Yeah.
But then different shaking styles will also mean you have to adjust a little bit different in terms
Yeah.
of your timing as well. So that's why it's a little bit hard to explain. There's no 1 to 10 for
Right.
it. It's a feel.
But you guys definitely know more than you're letting on. But so to go back, the question was, what is an unwritten rule for expats in Vietnam?
Yeah.
And you have a very good example and a story.
So I say this to all of my guy friends that come here and are single or just newly broken up and they're dating, is that once they start dating a girl, never go home with her during Tet to her hometown. Never. Ever.
And why is that?
Because that's like we're engaged. That's announcing to the family, especially her grandparents, that you guys are going to be getting engaged.
Now what I love, tell me what happens. I can imagine this happening, right?
Yeah.
The guy doesn't speak Vietnamese, the family do, and so she's like, Gran, this is my fiance, we're getting married in Vietnamese, and he's just like nodding like,
Yeah, because
And
that's
he's
what
no
you do,
idea-
right?
Is
You
that what
just
they
nod
do?
and smile.
but do you think that's what the
I
girls
think
do?
that's what happens. I don't know if it's on like a purposeful thing or I think it's a cultural thing too.
Yeah, right.
So I know a lot of guys who dated girls where they want to hop from just casually dating to the boyfriend-girlfriend relationship status right away, but they're like, wait, but we're still getting to know each other yet. We're dating, we're not boyfriend-girlfriend.
Yeah,
so
right.
that's where I've noticed a lot of the dating differences are.
I didn't know that one, so I don't know anything because I don't date, obviously. So Vietnamese girls culturally they think as soon as they're starting to see each other, going on a few dates, they think they're boyfriend and girlfriend.
I think that's a little bit more the traditional mindset
Right.
here, yeah. Unless they dated a lot and they've met more foreigners,
Right.
then they're not really used to that aspect
Yeah,
yet.
whereas in the West, again, I'm not really, even before I was married, I didn't really date, but more in the West, I guess you might go on several dates, but
Yeah.
you're still not dating.
No.
You gotta wait to have
Because then
that
you become
conversation.
like, you're exclusive and then you're boyfriend, girlfriend,
there's
right?
way
There's
more
like so many
steps.
little steps.
And whereas
or
here,
nuances.
it's kind of like,
Yeah.
it must be interesting. So if you're Vietnamese man and woman and does that make it more difficult or you're more reticent to date? Because you're like, I know if I go out with this girl more than once, we're already boyfriend and girlfriend.
Maybe, yeah, could be.
Yeah.
But then I was telling you earlier, so friend of a friend, they were dating for like about 7 months, and then he liked her. Like they were dating, they were boyfriend, girlfriend, but he wasn't ready to marry her or anything. He went home during Tet to the countryside, and about like 6 months later, they were planning a wedding.
Did he go through with it?
I don't know if they ever got back together, but at that point, the last time I heard the story, he broke up with her like maybe a week before the wedding because he didn't know how to say no. Like suit measurements and everything. But I guess at that point, Vietnamese families are so hands-on in weddings.
Oh, really?
They're really all up in your face. It's the parents' wedding, not your wedding.
Interesting. So have you ever seen on the expat groups, maybe it's in the expat groups more
Yeah.
than expats, of Vietnamese women advertising for a Western boyfriend to come back with her during Tet?
Oh,
And
really?
pretend that he's her
I haven't
boyfriend.
seen that.
I saw it years ago. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I definitely saw it. She basically was like, I'm looking for a Western guy just to come home with me. I will pay you. It was like $1 million a day or something like that. Just because I know my family will be impressed if I
Yeah.
come back with like a Western guy. And
I
just,
mean, that sounds fun.
I think I saw a few comments that were like, yeah, that sounds like it'll be a good time. Like they were like, no sexual relations.
Yeah.
I'm not asking for you to just come and just pretend you're my boyfriend.
But I think when guys go home to meet the Vietnamese girl's family, it's a lot easier than when a girl has to go home to meet the Vietnamese family. Guys, because like you come home, they're just so excited that you're white. And then they just want to feed you. They'll just feed you, eat, maybe ask you too many personal questions. Like they'll ask, how much do you make? How much do you have in your savings?
It's crazy.
They'll ask you what your parents do. Your parents have property. Those will be the first like 5 questions. When I met Jason's aunt for the first time, I didn't even meet his parents. I met his auntie first. First question she asked me was like, are you from the north? Are you from the south? Second question was, do your parents own any property?
Wow. So how did you guys meet? Because I don't think I know this
Tinder.
story. Oh really? It's so common, right? Like we know so
Tinder.
many people that have kids now, and I think it's such a beautiful thing because there is a bit of a stigmatism, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, we met on Tinder or whatnot, but that you're like, it's just the way it is these days. We know so many beautiful couples with children, and you're like, how did you meet? Tinder?
How did you guys meet?
Working together.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
normally the way it is, right? Like before Tinder. So we met before Tinder was a thing. Which makes us seem really old. And we both remember clearly the first time we were hanging out with a bunch of friends in New Zealand, and this guy, James, his name is, told us about Tinder, and we were just like, wait, what? And this was when it was more of a hookup app. Literally, he's like, yeah, it just tells you anyone who wants to hook up within like a kilometre or 5 kilometres. And we were like, what?
Yeah.
And he showed us this app, and we're like, you've met people through this? He's like, yeah, you just go on, you're like, want to hook up and you go and have sex with somebody, and then...
Pretty much.
Yeah,
But
crazy.
I say that in Vietnam because you've never experienced the whole swiping thing.
No.
Dating in Vietnam, so everyone's more down to meet up. Versus when you're in Vancouver texting on Tinder or like Bumble, all those apps, you have to be texting for like a week to 2 weeks with this girl or guy before you actually meet up for a coffee, for a drink.
Right.
But versus here, they'd be like, oh, are you free tomorrow? And just right away.
No way.
So all of my friends who come here for like, maybe they'll be here for like 6 months for work or something, they love dating here.
But is it that thing, I've heard this before from people, you show up for the date and then it's 5 of their friends with them as well, and you're expected to pick up the bill?
I see that a lot at 86.
Oh, in 86, bro?
It's one. First dates and Tinder dates are the best thing to watch and
You must
eavesdrop
see
on.
so much.
So good. It's wonderful.
So what's the most extreme or most memorable one? You remember seeing someone come on a first date and then there's like a gaggle of...
Usually it's 2 girlfriends, but they don't come right away. So the guy's so eager. He's so happy to meet this girl. The girl's pretty.
Yeah.
She's a little bit shy, and he's so eager. He's just talking.
First time in Asia, maybe.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And then her friend comes, and then he has a look at her like, wait, is she joining us or was she on a different table?
Yeah, right.
And then afterwards he'll just be like, fuck, I got tricked.
And
And then that's when he'll just check out and then he'll just be on his phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard stories before. I don't want to say the person's name. He told me he met up with his cousin, and he thought he was just hanging out with a family member, and she literally brought like 5 of her friends, and then the bill comes, and it's like, so you're paying. I've seen it posted on the EXPAT
We
groups
see it
as
here
well.
less now because the staff can usually pick that up and they split the bills now.
Oh, really?
So they'll bring the bill for the guy,
Yeah.
and they'll bring the girl for the guy, be like, here's your bill. And then if the guys be like, it's okay, just combine it, then we'll combine it.
But it's an extra step to do that,
Yeah.
So going back to the Vietnamese weddings, we were just talking earlier, so I've not really been to many Vietnamese weddings, just one.
We need to.
The weirdest thing was that, you know, with a Western wedding, we love a wedding, like we dance and we have a great time, you know, we do the food and then you dance. We were at our best friend's wedding, Kim and Lewis. She's Vietnamese, he's English. Amazing wedding, you know, you sit down, have the food. I was at MC, which was cool. I was
you were the MC?
The English MC, so there was a Vietnamese MC and an English MC, which was quite funny because there was only one table of people who spoke English, and then everyone else spoke Vietnamese. So I was literally just talking to like our friends. But it's so funny. So you finish the meal, and then you all go up on the dance floor. We're all dancing, and I remember we were having a great time on the dance floor. It was us and all the Westerners. And then I looked around, and every table was empty. Like empty, because that's what happens at a Vietnamese wedding,
They
right?
piece up before dessert.
Yeah, it was crazy. I was like, well, where did everyone go? Like, what happened?
Yeah, Vietnamese weddings are just, you show up, it starts at like 5 or 6, everyone shows up an hour late, wham, bam, uncle singing, and then that's it.
Done? Weird. Yeah. And have you been to a wedding in the countryside?
Yeah, Jason's cousin's wedding at the beginning of this year.
So tell me about that, because I've heard some stories about Vietnam country weddings.
That was tiring.
tiring.
So we didn't, I knew Jason was going to be part of the bridal party as a best man. I didn't realize that I was also going to be in the bridal party. So she's like, hey, like, I would love it if you were my bridesmaid. And originally I was like, oh no, it's okay. Like, you don't have to make me feel included. I'm okay being a guest. And she's like, no, I want you to be. I'm like, okay then, great. So I'm like 2 heads taller than all of her bridesmaids. And then we go to the countryside and we had to leave at like 4 a.m. to get to the countryside. And that was in April. So we were hitting the heat wave, so that's 40 degrees.
Oh, April's the worst. I hate April. It's so
and you're
humid.
wearing like the rentals that don't really fit you. Like, I'm too tall for an average Vietnamese girl of like in our age group. So all of like the ao dais, like the traditional outfit, they are just wedgies right up. I'm just there. It's uncomfortable. The dresses are probably like 30 centimeters too short for me. The pants are too short for me. And I'm just sweating. And because I don't necessarily look Vietnamese, every single uncle was like, can I take a selfie with you? Everyone, they're like, can I take a selfie? And I'm like, okay.
Well, what I've heard, and I've not been to one, is similar to can I take a selfie?
Yeah.
But instead of a selfie, can I take a shot of rice wine with you?
Yeah.
Did you have that as well?
I'm a girl, so no, but I know
Yeah.
guys, you'll definitely get
That's
that.
so I've not experienced it, but I've heard the story
Yeah.
that if you're a Westerner and you go to a Vietnamese wedding in the country, someone told us early on, we got here like 8 years ago, and they were like, don't go to a wedding
Yeah.
in the Vietnam countryside unless you have to.
Yeah.
Because they'll see you as like Westerner, and every
Your
uncle
entertainment.
will be like, okay, we'll do a shot together.
yeah.
And you don't realize that you have to go through 30 shots. So we've had people tell us like, don't swallow it or only pretend to take
Yeah.
it. The other advice we got given was if you do go, make sure you have ice in your beer
Yeah.
because you're going to have to drink so much.
Yeah.
So I can't even remember who this was. It was so long ago they told us this story. They went to a Vietnamese wedding in the countryside
Yeah.
and they woke up the next morning in a field next to the wedding.
That's so good. That's so bad. But that's so good.
And I've heard this from several people because you just get if you're not prepared.
And it's that like countryside rice wine too that you don't
Yeah.
even know what percentage it is realistically. It's not good for you.
And after you've
Not
heard about what happened in Laos,
necessarily.
you also don't know what's in it as
Yeah.
well. You're like, is this methanol?
Yeah.
Best whiskey sour in the world. It passes the 86 proof test because we're at 86 proof, of course. Thank you so much for
Thanks,
being
Neil.
on a Vietnam podcast finally.
Oh,
I
and
got you
remember, whiskey sour has whiskey in it.
to explain if you don't know what that reference is. This is a true story. It was only about a month ago or something. I can't even remember where we
Oh, it was
were.
only a month ago?
It wasn't that long ago, no.
Oh, no.
I wasn't even drunk. It was like the start. It was just a total brain fart. Adrian and I were drinking a whiskey sour. It wasn't here, it was somewhere else. And I literally turned around to Adrian and I went, I think it was at Layla actually. I can't remember. Anyway, I turned around to Adrian and I went, what's the base spirit in a whiskey sour again? Is it gin? And as soon as I said it, her face just looked at me like, and instantly I was like, fucking hell, it's fucking whiskey in it. And then I told Misha this story, and then Misha posted it on Facebook, and that's how you know about it now. I saw all the reactions on it. I was like, thanks, Misha.
Yeah.
But it was a small brain fart, but it was pretty stupid. Whiskey sour has whiskey in it, and it is delicious at 86 proof. So cheers.
Cheers.
Okay.